Welcome to Meet at the Apple. I'm Vito Calisi. That's Jonathan Barron. We're here with Kodai Senga. Kodai, I want to go back to last year. I have a picture of you that I want you to tell us what was going on in your mind, what was happening. Tell us all the joy you were feeling. We're going to look at the screen right now. Tell me about this day.
Obviously, I was very surprised, and I was actually holding something at the time, so I couldn't lift my arms up and high five people or anything. So that's why all my excitement went to my face, because I couldn't express it any other way.
Well, last year you got to pitch in the playoffs. Your first postseason experience in the major leagues, your first game at Citizens Bank Ballpark, a pretty crazy spot. What was the experience like getting to pitch in a playoff game?
Obviously, it was a very good experience for me, and I was privileged to have the honor to take the ball in that game. And this year, I hope to be contributing more throughout the season and take the team into the playoffs.
Now, you guys play the Dodgers, and as we all know, the last couple of years, the Dodgers have added a lot of good players from Japan. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki this year, Shohei Ohtani. You chose to come to the Mets. You went to a different coast. What kind of pride do you take by not being the same as a lot of other guys and paving your own route in New York City?
It's known in Japan to be on the East Coast is tougher, and I knew that coming into it, but at the same time, it didn't matter to me where I was. I just needed to play ball and give it my best.
Let's talk about your relationship with Jeremy Hefner. Just how has it grown, and how do you get over the obstacles of obviously not speaking the same language but working together so much?
Yeah, I do think Hef and I have a great relationship, and I feel like he goes out of his way to communicate with me, take time out of his day, and whenever I have questions, he either has an answer for me on the spot, and even if he doesn't, he goes home, he studies, and gives me a straight answer the next day. And the language part, obviously a different language, but it's also the baseball language, so we're able to communicate pretty well through that.
This is now your third spring training. It feels like yesterday you came to Port St. Lucie for the first time back in 2023. What are some of your favorite things about spring training, and also your favorite things about Port St. Lucie, Florida?
Obviously, it's very warm in Port St. Lucie, and I'm oftentimes coming from Japan into spring training, and it's quite cold there, so there's the temperature difference. It's very comfortable to play down here. Also, I need to keep up with my health to make sure I don't get sick with the temperature changes. And in Port St. Lucie, there isn't a whole lot to do other than baseball, so I can really focus on the game.
So one thing we've seen over the last few years is you have really cool gloves. You're really into style. Could you tell us about this glove and just the designs on it and what you put into your gloves? Also, love your logo.
So the stitching, the big stitching in the middle of the webbing, it's actually the border of my hometown in Japan, and that's something that I've had ever since I was playing in Japan. It's been there for a long time. And then the ghost holding the little forks, my glove companies they made that little mark for me, and they like appealing it to the fans out in America, so that's what's on my glove.
And you have a City Connect one also here that you'll wear when the team is playing at home on Saturday with a nice little purple trimming. And you mentioned the ghost and the fork. I think it's a great transition to talk about your ghost fork. We talked to Tyler McGill yesterday, and he told us that he started throwing that split when you introduced the pitch. He has huge hands. He could really put the baseball between his index and middle finger. But are you trying to, or do any of your teammates ask you about pitch grips and trying to learn the pitch from you?
Yeah, when people ask for my opinion or my grips and stuff like that, I'm an open book. I would love to share, and I love conversing with my teammates about that. But at the same time, a lot of people see the splitter and think, oh, that's not for me, or it's going to lead to an injury. So I feel like there's a little bit of resistance on that end.
And after a season with some injuries last year, how are you feeling right now as we get ready to start spring training games?
I feel great right now. I'm not worried about anything in my body, and I'm in great spirits and great condition in spring training.
I see that you're feeling so good that I saw a video. I was actually watching you today. Look like you're trying to pick up a new skill. Are we going to see you bat? Are you going to try to bat this year?
I try to show it off to Hef, but he declines every time, so we'll see.
Which one of your position player teammates do you think would throw the best ghost fork?
Maybe Alvarez. Alvi has seen it the most, so maybe he can pull it off.
What's it like working with Francisco Alvarez? He's so young, and people forget that. But when you watch him catch bullpens, he's so vocal, and he gives you guys so much feedback. He really feels like a true field general out there. What's your relationship like with him?
Yeah, he's an incredible player, inside and out. Obviously, he's very young, but he's crafting his game. He takes a lot of time in preparation. He likes to practice longer than a lot of other players. And he's always smiling and friendly in the locker room in the clubhouse, and he's a lot of fun to be with. But at the same time, when the game rolls around, he's concentrating, he's focused, and he gives it his all for the game.
What player are you most looking forward to striking out this season?
I think the most important thing is staying healthy and throwing as many innings as possible. I think that's going to lead to a lot of strikeouts and striking out a lot of different players too.
One last relationship I want to ask you about is you and Edwin Diaz. Because I remember last year we saw you and Edwin Diaz just joking with each other, and it seems like you guys have gotten really close. So what's that relationship like with you and Sugar?
Yeah, he's a great person. We actually share the same agents. I think that's how the relationship started. But right now, I think we're locker buddies over at Citi Field. So we chat a lot. We texted a lot during the off season too. Last year when I wasn't able to play, Sugar would maintain communication, and it would help me out a lot. And then in 2023, when he wasn't able to play, I tried to do my best to speak to him as much as possible, and I think we have a great relationship.
You've got another new teammate. He just got here today, Juan Soto. Where were you when you found out the news that he was signing, and what was your reaction like?
I was over in Japan. I was rehabbing actually, and I didn't see it right when it came out because I was in the middle of work. But when I opened my phone up, a lot of my buddies over in Japan had messaged me like, "You're gonna play with Juan Soto? That's great!" And I was obviously very surprised and super excited to be able to play on the same field with him. But at the same time, I didn't get to face him when he was on a different team. So I wish I had faced him at least once, but having him on the same team is great.
So you're close friends with Yu Darvish, who was his teammate. Did you talk to you about what can I expect with Juan? Like, what's some stuff to know about him in general?
Yeah, Darvish had a lot of praising to do about Soto. Talked about how young he is, but how much of a leader he is, how much leadership he takes, and that only made me more excited to play with him.
Thanks so much for joining us, Kodai. It's been a pleasure. We're looking forward to seeing a great year from you. You can follow this podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm at Vito F. Khaleesi. John is at JMB9191. You know where to see Kodai Senga. It's at Citi Field. See you guys.